Good morning and welcome to the hybrid virtual and in-person meeting of the MPO board for Wednesday, November 4th. And thank you all for joining us. We'll begin the meeting with a Pledge of Allegiance.
See no flag. Oh, there it is. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, that was a good group pledge there. Participatory. And now we will go to a, let's take a moment of silence. And I guess we could actually be thinking, I mean, more than, I think 800 people have died of COVID in Hillsborough County. And as well, I always, in the MPO meetings, we are one of the highest areas in the entire nation, time after time, for deaths by bicycle, pedestrian, and car crashes, and lose significant numbers of people every year. So let's take a moment of silence to recognize that. Okay. And can we have a, Ms. Wilkening, can you do a roll call, please?
Members attending virtually: Miller, Kemp,
Yes.
Hagan, Overman,
Here.
Smith,
Here.
Lopano,
Here.
Maniscalco.
Here.
Members in person: Citro,
Here.
Dingfelder,
Present at the county center.
Ross,
Here.
Lott,
Here.
Williams,
Here.
Klug,
Here.
Frey,
Here.
Marino,
Here.
Stewart.
Here.
We
Has
Will now
on.
be connected to the meeting. You're muted. You can
Excuse
press
me,
star 6 anytime to unmute yourself.
Can everyone
You
please
can
mute
now
their
unmute yourself
phones?
by pressing star 6.
Okay, everyone, thank you. Not sure what that was. I'm sorry, did we finish the roll call there? I think we did.
We finished. We have an in-person quorum.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. We will move now to, and I'm just, okay, approval of the minutes. Do we have a motion to approve?
Commissioner Kemp, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm here.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Where are we?
We're just about to go for approval of the minutes.
Well, before we do that, let me say this. Congratulations on your election. I wanted to say that earlier. Congratulations. Job well done. You did a great job. Congratulations. Now, we're in the approval of the minutes, you said?
Yes, we haven't done it yet.
Okay, may I have a motion to approve the minutes from we have two sets of minutes, so let's do them separately. Our minutes from the August 31st, 2020 meeting. Is there a motion to do that?
Approval of Commissioner Overman.
There's a motion by Commissioner Overman, second by Maniscalco. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, may call the roll on the minutes, please.
Miller,
Yes.
Kemp,
Yes.
Overman,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Hagan, Maniscalco,
Yes.
Citro,
Yep. Yep.
Dingfelder,
Yep. Yep.
Ross,
Yes.
Lott,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Klug,
Yes.
Frey,
Yes.
Marino,
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Motion carries 15-0.
Thank you. Now we have a motion to approve the October 14th, 2020 minutes, please. Motion by Councilman Maniscalco. Is there a second?
Second, Commissioner Smith.
Second by Commissioner Smith. Is there further discussion on October 20th, October 14, 2020 meeting? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Miller,
Yes.
Kemp,
Yes.
Overman, Lampano,
Yes.
Maniscalco,
Yes.
Citro,
Yes.
Dingfelder,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Lot,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Klug,
Yes.
Prey,
Yes.
Marino, Stewart. Motion carries 13-0.
Thank you. Before moving to public comment, Mr. Brewer, would you make me the host so I can see the hands, please, just in case somebody raised them?
Yes, sir. You now have that permission.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Public comment. Do we have anyone signed with public comment?
Sir, can we come back to public comment? We're having an issue with that queue right now. We do have one submission and he is in the queue, but we're having an issue with the system. Chairman Miller, did you copy that?
On.
Commissioner Kemp, are you there?
Yes, I am.
It looks like Commissioner Miller is having trouble with his connection. Do you mind taking the chairmanship back over for the moment?
No. Okay, so we need to go to the committee or public comment. Do we have any public comment?
Good morning, Commissioner. This is James. We do have one person in the public comment queue. We're having a little bit of technical issue with it, but he is on the line and we are going to make it available for him to speak. Can we come back to public comment maybe in an item?
Sure. I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't know if that had been settled or not. So let's move to committee appointments. And I guess, Ms. Alden, can you speak to that?
I believe that we have Rich Clarendon from my staff to speak to that item. Rich, are you on the line?
I'm sorry, did I miss committee reports and advance comments first?
That would be a great thing for us to cover while we're waiting to resolve our technical issue with our public commenter.
Apologize. Mr. Roberts, the CAC staff, and as well as Wanda or Ms. West of the MPO staff.
Good morning, members of the MPO. This is Bill Roberts. I chair your Citizens Advisory Committee. I'm happy to provide this report as a fill-in for the moment while we make a connection for public comment. The CAC met on September 9th and reviewed the reevaluation of the transit asset management, the pavement, bridge, and system performance targets. Those are before you on your agenda today, and you have the approval and the recommendation from the CAC to move those forward. We were also briefed on HART's proposed service changes for 2021. The CAC members wanted to know how those changes would impact the communities of concern, how the All for Transportation surtax funding could affect those changes. They wanted to know if increasing HART's millage rate was being considered in order to provide additional funding for HART. And finally, how people could weigh in through HART's online survey. That issue was addressed in our meeting. Secondly, in lieu of an October meeting, the CAC held a workshop on managed lanes. Mr. Lippman, who briefed the MPO the following day, gave us a really good presentation on managed lanes. The CAC members voiced concern about the state's policy governing the use of toll revenues for transit. They expressed interest in the impact of the managed lanes on low-income individuals, establishing a cap on variable tolls, how the BRT could operate in toll lanes, thinking about a regional concept, the lack of a robust transit system with first and last mile connections that would provide a viable alternative for those who could not afford viable tolls. And that concludes our report. I'll be happy to take any comments or questions from the MPO.
Thank you very much. Any questions, comments? Seeing none. Let's move to, or Ms. West, did you have anything to add to that?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning. Wanda West, MPO staff. The Intelligent Transportation Systems Committee approved and forwarded the reevaluation of transit asset management, pavement and bridge and system performance targets, as well as the regional's transportation systems management and operations memorandum of understanding, which are action items on today's agenda. The Transportation Disadvantage Coordinating Board approved and forwarded for your approval the Community Transportation Coordinator Annual Operating Report and the Plant City Transit Plan. These items will appear on a future agenda. Committees received updates on the MPO Non-Discrimination Plan 2021 meeting dates, the All Love Ride Out Bicycle Group, City of Tampa bicycle and pedestrian projects, including the Riverwalk, Green Spine, Artery, and other projects, the Clear Guide Data and Analytics Platform. HART staff liked the tool and thanked the MPO for the training. Fowler Avenue multimodal study. The Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee members provided feedback on the Florida Department of Transportation's proposed multimodal improvements for Fowler Avenue. During the legislative review, the Livable Roadways Committee made a motion to change language, reference intercity rail to fixed guideway to allow bus rapid transit funding eligibility. And the BPAC was supportive of previous positions and supported consideration for the Florida Bicycle Association legislative priorities. The following is a quick overview of the emails that we received. Steve Hollenkamp requested a breakdown of spending. Mr. Clarendon responded to his inquiry. The county sustainability manager thanked Allison Ye for her work with the lead for cities and communities certification. Caitlin Johnston, Tampa Bay Times reporter, thanked Wade Reynolds for his helpful and quick response on the most dangerous roads data. Lena Young Green thanked Wade Reynolds, Gina Torres, and Beth Alden for demonstrating that working together with communities is an important part of the work of the MPO. They assisted with applying for the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation's Culture of Health Prize grant. Gina Torres provided follow-up from the Vision Zero Leadership Summit's audience questions. Chris Vila provided comments regarding the following items on today's agenda: the regional TSMOMOU, the Non-Discrimination Plan Update, and the MPO Executive Director's Performance Evaluation. Emails in their entirety have been provided to all board members electronically. There were no Facebook comments or voicemail messages received prior to the meeting. This concludes my report.
Thank you. I see Mr. Miller's back. Commissioner Miller?
I'm back.
Okay. We never took public comment, never came up, and we're at action items.
Okay, so we're at action items.
Well, we can check and see if public comment is
I'm sorry.
available.
Thank you.
Someone
Thank you.
was trying to get in.
And
Good morning.
I
This is
apologize for this.
Good morning. This is James. We do have our public comment citizen in the queue and ready. It is Chris Vila, and he is on the line, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Billy. Recognize, sir.
Question. What is going on? Mr. Vila, if you're on the line, please unmute your phone.
Is he there?
I don't believe so, sir.
Okay. Do we have any other, anyone else for public comment?
That was the only citizen this morning, sir.
Okay.
Hello?
Did we approve the,
Anybody hear me?
oh, Mr. Vila, is that you? Mr. Vila?
Can you hear me? Oh,
Yes, go ahead. Can you hear us?
hello?
Mr. Vila, can you hear us? I think he's having a problem hearing us. Everything's going wrong this morning. Maybe the satellite's not working properly. Yeah.
I'm here.
Mr. Vila, can you hear us?
Yes, sir, I can.
Okay, go ahead. You have recognized. You have 3 minutes, sir. Good morning.
Good morning, and I'm sorry about this. Commissioner Miller, I just wanted to offer my thanks to you for your leadership on the MPO board and accommodating all of us, especially us advocates, always causing a little bit of flies in the ointment. But I do appreciate you, sir. And congratulations,
Thank you, Mr. Villa.
Commissioner Kemp. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. And also congratulations to Commissioner Kemp. I look forward to the next 4 years with your leadership, especially with transportation. So good win last night.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. So I sent out a very lengthy comment late last night because of the elections, and I'm still a little out of it for lack of sleep. But I wanted just to firmly say that I think this board needs to raise a lot of questions to the MOU that's going to be presented. We know that we're missing the high-speed rail on I-4. And I guess the big burning question is how this is going to help get that rail. I'm also concerned that there's a lot of design being put forward for autonomous vehicles. Realize that we have SunTrack. So FDOT built a SunTrack city for $150 million to test AV. I haven't heard any progress report from it. And here we are about to invest in I-4 and potentially limit a lot of different uses. I don't think a lot of us could afford AV, especially under this economy, once those products are realized. And then I had a couple points on the non-discrimination plan. Ultimately, I just hope there is a resolution passed for the MPO to apologize for past issues where there was public conflict of interest and also missed opportunities to service the communities of color. I'm not necessarily talking about this board. I'm going all the way back to 1974 to this point. So hopefully you're able to read some of those things. I did make some recommendations. I think public comment should be a hybrid approach, hopefully with less glitches, meaning that you can do virtual and in-person. It's working really well for the city of Tampa, and I think it'll help everybody with their work schedule. And the other thing is I hope that we can get some evening sessions and also, Saturdays. And I know that's crazy, but I think it would really be beneficial for more controversial public hearings to get more feedback. Lastly, I just want to commend Beth Alden for hopefully a really good performance evaluation. Beth, you've been very, very accommodating to us in large crowds. In fact, you fed us the last time, and that was really nice because, we all get frayed with just being there without food. And, I just think you've been very professional, supportive, and really, I really hope this board in the next year or two can give you the amount of money to have all the tools necessary for your discrimination plan, once it's accepted, of course, just to really come up with a good restoration, not a mitigation transportation plan. So hopefully the board will give you good fortune. And that's my public comments. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. Commissioner Kemp, did we have committee reports and advance comments?
Yes, we had committee report. No, I'm sorry, we didn't start on the action items yet.
But we had the committee reports.
Yes, we did.
Okay. All right, go to the action items. First thing is committee appointments. Mr. Clarendon?
Yeah, good morning, board members. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Rich Clarendon, MPO Assistant Director. This morning we have 5 individuals who've been nominated to serve on various advisory committees, starting with Alexis Boback, nominated to serve on the Citizens Advisory Committee by Councilman Dingfelder. We have Beth Pasek, and I hope I'm pronouncing these names correctly, who's been nominated by the Florida Department of Children and Family Services to serve on the Transportation Disadvantage Coordinating Board. There are 2 individuals nominated to serve on the Technical Advisory Committee representing the Florida Department of Health. That would be Nicole Sutton and Grizel Cisneros as her alternate. And last, we have 1 individual nominated by the City of Plant City to serve as its representative on the Intelligent Transportation Systems Committee, and that would be Frank Kohenor. And that's it, and we would recommend the above appointments.
Make a motion to approve the appointments, Maniscalco.
Second, Overman.
It looks like we may have lost Commissioner Miller again. So hearing the motion to approve by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Commissioner Overman. If we can take a roll call.
Miller? Overman?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Hagan? Maniscalco?
Yes.
Citro?
Yes.
Dingfelder?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Lott?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Klug?
Yes.
Frey?
Yes.
Marino?
Yes.
Stewart?
Yes.
Motion carries 12-0.
Okay,
Commissioner-
for the record, I don't think my name was called, so I'll just do a yes for me too.
And I'll take a yes too. This is Joe Lopano.
Okay. And so I guess I'm going to have to be Johnny on the spot here today as we move in and out. So let's move next to the reevaluation of transit asset management, pavement and bridge and system performance targets. Mr. Wong, thank you.
Thank you, board members. I'm going to be swift this morning because from my view, I can see that some of you are having bandwidth issues. Johnny Wong, Hillsborough MPO staff. I'm briefing you this morning on an update to our performance for 3 federally required measures, which are transit asset management, pavement and bridge condition, and system performance. Next slide, please. We have brought you updates on performance measures and targets several times in the past, so these should be familiar to many of you. All 3 of the measures that we're going to be discussing this morning originate from MAP 21 and FAST Act legislation. Both of those legislative acts emphasize performance-based planning and accountability regarding transportation investments. The requirements found in this legislation prescribe performance measures for DOTs and MPOs, and our agencies are required to calculate those measures and track performance over time. Next slide, please. Since 2016, we've been producing safety analyses and tracking our progress and bringing you updates periodically. Our targets are set so that we can track our performance regarding, or that we can track our performance pertaining to some quantifiable targets. The first performance measure and target that we brought to you were regarding safety. And you may remember that some of these metrics are fatalities, serious injuries, bike and pit fatalities and injuries, and so far we have brought you an update each year. The 3 targets that we're presenting this morning are not required to be updated annually. These targets last for 4 years. In 2020, the presentation today, you'll be seeing kind of like a midterm evaluation report card, so to speak. And so while we can't take action to adjust the targets, we can use this information to inform our target setting activities in 2022. We have initially brought forth these measures and targets to you beginning in 2018. In 2018, when this board adopted targets, we have since then been required to include a report card in our TIP, our LRTP, and we have prioritized transportation investments specifically so that we can make progress in each of these areas. Next slide, please. The first performance measure and target that we're going to be discussing this morning is regarding transit asset management. I see that the slides are lagging a little bit. Next slide, please. Transit asset management is frequently abbreviated as TAM, and TAM can be thought of as a process involving inventorying assets, assessing the condition, and using that information to establish a business strategy for funding maintenance at the appropriate time. The goal being, of course, to extend the life of these transit assets and get the most out of them before they're retired. A second acronym that's important to know is SGR, or State of Good Repair. And State of Good Repair means that the asset in question is performing its intended function, performing it safely, and that investment in the asset has been recovered. Next slide, please. Regarding the TAM rule, this rule pertains to all transit providers that receive federal funding. And the legislation creates a category of two different types of transit agencies. A tier 1 agency would be a large agency that maintains a pretty big fleet. HART falls into this category. A tier 2 agency would be a subrecipient of federal funds, a smaller agency with a smaller fleet like the Sunshine Line or T-BARTA. The Sunshine Line and T-BARTA are required to set TAM targets, but they report directly to the state, whereas HART coordinates its target setting approach with us and with DOT. And so for these transit agencies receiving federal funding directly, they're required to inventory assets that cost more than $50,000 and place them into one of 4 categories that are shown on the screen. Those 4 categories are rolling stock, equipment, facilities, and infrastructure. Once they categorize all the inventory, they have to rate the condition and use that information to create an optimized maintenance timing process. Once that timing process is established, they then coordinate with both the MPO and the DOT, and we adopt these targets and report them in our documents as I already described. Next slide, please. All of the measures that I'm going to be presenting you with this morning are reported as % of the asset not in a state of good repair. And so what that means for your purposes is that the number circled in that red should be lower. So a lower number is better. That would indicate here, pertaining to rolling stock, that the fleet would be in better condition, and a higher number would mean the opposite. In 2018, when you all established the target for rolling stock % of vehicles not in a state of good repair, 28% of the vehicles were not in a state of good repair. In the 2 years since then, that number has jumped up quite considerably by more than 12%. That increase may seem a little bit high, but it's just about standard for the industry. And this is key because unless HART has a consistent stream of revenue to replace buses on time, we're going to continue to expect that to see that number jump around. And unless a consistent revenue stream is secured, it wouldn't be extraordinary to see that number jump around by as high as 20% in a given year. Next slide, please. The second asset category that we're reporting is pertaining to equipment. When the board established the performance target back in 2018, we set it at 19%. 2 years later, in 2020, our equipment percent not in a state of good repair has again jumped by 13%. This is typical for the industry, again, simply because the equipment or the vehicles that are considered equipment have a much shorter lifespan than some of those larger 40-foot CNG buses. The equipment falling into this category, or the vehicles falling into this category, may have a lifespan of about 5 years. And so it's not surprising to see this number fluctuate by 20 to 25% on an annual basis, again, assuming that HART does not have a consistent revenue stream to replace equipment on time. Next slide, please. The third category for assets is facilities. In 2018, when the board established the target, passenger and parking facilities, 10% of those assessed were not in a state of good repair. 2 years later, HART has made a number of investments and they've brought that number down to 0%, not in a state of good repair. On the other hand, the administrative and maintenance facilities, when initially reported, 0% not in a state of good repair, that number has jumped up by 28.6%. And this is all attributable to the fact that HART did not complete its assessment of the heavy maintenance facility in 2018. And so over the past 2 years, they have completed the inventory. We already knew that the heavy maintenance facility suffered from a lot of structural issues pertaining to roof leaks and flooding. And so this 28.6 is pretty reflective of what we assumed was going on 2 years ago. Next slide, please. And the final asset category for transit is infrastructure. The HART does not actually own the rail tracks. Those are owned and managed by the city of Tampa. And so we reached out to the city of Tampa and they confirmed that similar to 2018, in 2020, there are no performance restrictions on those tracks. Next slide, please. And of course, the MPO works very closely with HART to maintain and improve the condition of its transit assets. The MPO prioritizes about $4 million every year, and we've done this for the past 5 or more years, and that money goes directly to replacing buses. We've also prioritized $10 million to invest in upgrading the CAT AVL system, which is bus tracking. And we've also prioritized about $1 million for Marion Transit Center concrete improvements. Next slide, please. The second performance measure and target that we're going to be reviewing is pavement and bridge condition. Next slide, please. Under this rule, DOTs and MPOs are required to establish pavement and bridge targets on the national highway system and report them in our TIPs and long-range plans. In 2018, this board agreed to support the statewide targets, which are shown on this slide in the far right-hand column. Next slide, please. And the most recent data we have for each of these performance targets shows a pretty impressive picture. In 2018, when interstate pavement condition target was set, 50.9% of the interstate was in good condition. 2 years later, that number has increased by almost 10%. Interstate pavement in poor condition was 0 2 years ago. It increased only nominally, so it's 0.3% now, still well within range of the target of having less than 5% be in poor condition. On the non-interstate NHS, the arterials, the target is to have more than 40% of those roads in good condition. In 2018, the performance was 42% in good condition. That number has decreased a little bit. It's 36%, but we have a commitment from DOT to fund pavement improvements as needed. So we're pretty confident that by 2022, when we're required to set the targets once again, that number will be meeting the target or exceeding. The non-interstate NHS pavement increased slightly from 0.2% to 0.1%. Again, not a big deal. And the bridges in the county, there are about 730 bridges, 462 of these fall on the national highway system. The target is to have more than 50% of them in good condition. We were far exceeding that in 2018. We went down a little bit, but we're still far exceeding the target. And the 2020 performance is 76% in good condition. NHS bridges in poor condition has remained the same at 0%. Next slide, please. The third and final rule is system performance. This measure is related in terms of travel time reliability. You all are probably experts on it because we've briefed you so many times, but I'll walk you through the metrics once again. Next slide, please. Travel time reliability does not specifically focus on congestion. We know that Hillsborough County has a high level of congestion because we live here and we drive in it. Travel time reliability is a more applicable measure for this county and counties like it because it measures the expected duration of our commute over different times a day. Basically, it's a measure of reliability. How frequently do you add on a lot of travel time above what is expected? Next slide, please. And I just want to take a moment and plug an important project that the MPO is leading in coordination with some other agencies across Hillsborough, which is a shared data and analytics platform called ClearGuide. ClearGuide is a web-based tool that pulls in data from various sources, and this tool acts as a central repository for mobility data sets, allowing staff to not have to work across platforms to access information pertaining to congestion, crashes, and incidents. All of that data is now accessible in what we hope will become a one-stop shop for transportation analytics in the future. This is getting a little nerdy, I apologize, but it's really impressive because this platform is accessible to all of the cities, the county, THEA, District 7, and HART. All of your staff have access to this tool, and it allows us to work smarter, not harder. So deployment of this tool is actually making us more error-free, providing consistent analyses, and making us more effective in our jobs. Next slide, please. I'm not going to do a live demo because of bandwidth restrictions and time limitations, but the slide that is populating right now shows a map of Hillsborough. From this home screen, your staff's able to hover over any segment in the county, and it shows current performance, historical performance, averages over the past 30 days. We've recently added Waze data, crash data. Again, we hope that this becomes a one-stop shop for performance analytics. We've also recently added the ability to identify the top locations for bottlenecks. No surprise, it's mostly the interstate. We're able to provide data on corridor volumes. All of these pieces of information that I just mentioned are critical to any study or plan. And having all that data at the fingertips of your staff only improves our efficiency and the effectiveness of our work. Next slide, please. We can and have used that platform to measure things like level of travel time reliability. In 2018, when this board agreed to support the statewide targets, the performance measures that we committed to are shown on the screen. On the interstate system, we want to have the level of travel time reliability exceed 75%, meaning that 75% of the time that you get in your car or you get on your bike, sorry, not a bike on the interstate, that you get in your car or on the bus, the travel time should not exceed 50% of what is expected. On the interstate system, we have targets for freight movement, a truck travel time reliability index score of 2 means that on the worst congested days, a truck should not double its travel time. And on the non-interstate NHS system, we want to maintain 50% of the time the network performing reliably under moderate congestion. Next slide, please. In 2018, when the system performance targets were set, we were not meeting our targets for level of travel time reliability for the interstate system. 2 years later, we are meeting it. So we are now just meeting our target of 75%. We're also now meeting our LOTTR target for the non-interstate system. We've dramatically increased our performance on the arterials from 59% to 81%. And the truck travel time index score has dropped from 2.08 to 1.89. So we're now meeting the target that we established. Next slide, please. While we can't adjust the targets until 2022, the action that we're proposing today is to correct a mistake that was reported in 2018. In 2018, when we reported the equipment asset, or when we presented that 81% of transit equipment assets were not in a state of good repair, that number was incorrectly reported. It should actually be 19% of equipment assets not in a state of good repair. And so that's the correction we're suggesting for you today. I believe that there's one more slide. I also wanted to highlight that what I described for ClearGuide today is what's possible today. But we're working with all of your agencies to continue expanding this because we see that this kind of sophisticated analysis software is the wave of the future. We're working with staff to continue adding in new sources of data like transit, origin destination, micro-mobility solutions like scooters and bikes. All of this is going to allow us to plan much better for the future. And ultimate build out for this tool will be predictive. And so we will be able to tell in the future what the impact will be of putting a crosswalk at a certain location or installing ramp metering technology at a certain location. We're going to be able to determine what the effectiveness of these treatments will be. We're really hopeful that that will be successful. And I think that that wraps it up. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Okay, this is Miller. I'm back. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Are there any questions? Mr. Brewer, you need to make me the host again. So if I see any hands for any questions.
Commissioner Smith has a question.
Commissioner Smith, you recognize, ma'am. I apologize, everyone, for having this problem.
Thank you. Could we go back to about the third slide from the end about the travel time or the level of travel time TTR?
Yes.
Two more slides back. That one. So that's LOTTR, level of travel time expected.
Level of travel time reliability. It's basically, it's a metric of how often your travel time exceeds the expected, and DOT and Federal Highway Administration have set a target of having your expected time, of having your travel time not exceed 50% above what you normally expect. So to put it in terms we can all understand, if your commute is typically 20 minutes, the goal that they're shooting for is to have it not exceed 30 minutes on any given day.
Right. And so I just wanted to really make sure that everyone understands that 75% is not a great quality of life for the people who live south of 60, south of Bloomingdale, because our commute time is, kind of expected to be an hour from South County into downtown Tampa. And so this target says, well, 75% of the time, it won't be more than an hour and a half. And 1 out of 4 times, 25% of the time, 1 out of 4 days you're traveling once a week, you're gonna do even worse than that. Your 1 hour commute is gonna go more than 90 minutes. It's gonna be a 2 hour commute because there's an accident. And when there's an accident, there's 5 accidents because that's the way that works. So I just want everybody to really get a sense that that these targets are reflecting a pretty miserable standard of quality of life and commute for the people of South County. And I would also just like to then ask a question about the recommended changes for HART. You're not like lowering the standard, right? You're not recommending that we raise the number of expected rolling stock that is not of high quality. You are simply correcting an error or you're recommending that we correct that error?
Yes, Commissioner. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to clarify. It's actually 2 slides back, I believe, pertaining to the equipment assets. When we received the targets from HART back in 2018, we actually reported the inverse of what the number actually should have been. And so on this table that's shown on the slide, the 19% is what that number should be corrected to. It was previously reported as 81%, which would mean that the vast majority of the assets are not doing so well, and that's actually not the case.
Okay, so we're not recommending that we change the goal or the target.
No, Commissioner, just to correct it, because it was incorrectly reported.
Thank you very much. That does it for me.
Commissioner Oldman, you recognize.
Thank you, sir. And to dovetail on what Commissioner Smith was describing, I too appreciate the fact that we've actually focused on our partnership with the feds as well as DOT to do a good job of hitting our targets when it comes to our road infrastructure and our traffic that actually uses roadways. However, it's really obvious in this report that we have failed to hit any of our targets when it comes to how transit assists in getting people around. And really very obvious when our performance numbers, as we've adjusted them, that describe our transit economic requirement model and how we meet or fail to meet. We miss all of the benchmarks when it comes to our transit investments. And that says a lot about our value system and how we help people get around. And as this MPO and all of our stakeholders in our community look at ways we encourage investment in our infrastructure, it is obvious that we are going to need to address the lack of investment or the lack of resources and the prioritization of resources in all of our budgets, our TIP, our LRTP, our advocacy in partnership with Federal Transit and Highway Association to create a better allocation of transportation infrastructure resources towards transit in order for our region, and specifically Hillsborough County, to not only remain competitive, but also to address what Commissioner Smith mentioned. You know, the quality of life for many of our citizens that don't live right in the urban core is the compromise that's made because we can't create an alternative, reliable source of mobility. For example, you know, you don't necessarily get in a car crash when you're on a train, or if you're on an express route on a bus that actually has a protected guideway. And so if we have buses that actually can assist in doing those kinds of things. So that reprioritizes our importance in focusing not only on the equality of how we invest, but how that impacts our economic opportunity. So I truly appreciate this report in the sense that it is very obvious what investing in our road infrastructure prioritization has been, and it's been successful. But at the same time, we've not done that in the area of transit. That is a way of means of helping people get around and remaining economically competitive. And we're way behind the power curve here. So I thank you for bringing this forward, and I hope that that actually assists everyone and the stakeholders that make up the MPO in embracing the ways that we can balance our efforts in investment in our infrastructure. And I'll stop there.
Okay. Commissioner Smith, I see your hand still up. Commissioner Smith, you recognize? Okay. All right. Is anyone else? I don't see any other hands, so we need a motion to accept the
Mr. Chairman, there's hands up in the county center.
Okay, I'm sorry. Whose hands are up?
Commissioner Miller, I see Councilman Dingfelder, Ms. Williams, and Mr. Fry.
Councilman Dingfelder, who else?
Williams and Mr. Fry.
Okay. Councilman Dingfelder, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. Congratulations to Commissioner Kemp and any others, Ms. Stewart as well. Quick question, Mr. Wong. In regard to the ClearGuide analytics program, you mentioned access available to staff and to the various jurisdictions. Is it going to also be an open platform with access to, to the public who have a great interest in this, as well as, private consultants, so we're all on the same page and working with the same data?
Unfortunately, at this particular time, we cannot make it available to the public because it's a proprietary tool. We are looking to provide a layer of transparency to the public and allow them to view some of the relevant statistics by building a digital dashboard. And so that is forthcoming, and we are working to resolve that problem to provide the public a little bit more access to it in the future. Regarding the consultants, if a consultant can demonstrate that they're hired on to work on a particular task for one of those agencies, we do provide them with temporary access to the tool.
What I was thinking about specifically was in the count, I'm sure all the jurisdictions experience this. We get large projects coming in front of us in the rezoning context, and they bring in their consultants who give us transportation studies. So I would hope that at some point everybody would be able to have access to this, and we could get around that. The other issue is, how do you get around sunshine if all of these public agencies have access, and we tell the public citizens they don't have access? That seems a little. I understand you've got confidentiality problems with your vendor, but I think we need to work to get around that. And then my second question, perhaps a little easier, on the LOTTR evaluation, was it COVID adjusted when these models were taken, when these statistics were made?
No, sir, it is not. The 2020 data leads up to January 1st of 2020, so it's only covering through the end of calendar year 2019. We're expecting that the forthcoming statistics will be a little weird. So when we provide an update in 2022 to inform the next round of target setting, COVID will be considered in that latest data set.
Since we only went to January, it's not COVID impacted, and it's a pretty pure set of information. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Williams, you recognize.
I'm recognizing that I'm coming in after the plan has been adopted and the target set. My question centers around how we based our targets. Are they historicals or are they visionary goals? And then the second half of that is, while Mr. Wong, I appreciate your overview of performance update, it doesn't tell us how we are successful when we are green and where we have opportunities when we're red. So how do we know what to do as we go forward, and what is that plan? And if there is a place that I need to go and get that information, I'll be more than happy to do so. It's just a matter of me gaining more intelligence around what we're doing and how, and then what we plan to do, so I can contribute going forward. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for the question. I manage our performance measures program, so I'd be happy to schedule some time with you to provide an overview. The measures and targets that we're presenting today are the ones that are required by the feds and DOT. We have a number of local measures that are more appropriate and more relevant to our citizens and residents within Hillsborough County. And so this should be viewed as a partial picture of what's going on. In terms of the targets, how they were set, the system performance targets that I think you were asking about specifically, we agreed to support the statewide targets, and DOT Central Office, FDOT, established these for all MPOs and all districts statewide. And so we know that these may not be the most contextually relevant and most appropriate for the residents living in South County, for example. But if we choose, or if we are able to meet the statewide target, then DOT will be able to report to the Federal Highway Administration that it is making progress toward improving reliability across the entire network. I hope that makes a little bit of sense.
It does, and I'll take some time to spend with you to gain additional insight as we go forward. And thanks for the offer. Thanks for the offer.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Fry, you recognize.
Mr. Wong, the question I have would be, this is just one set of evaluation metrics that are used. Can you tell us how they fit in with the other evaluation metrics that are used for roadways and for transit and for projects? This is not the whole picture that we use, so I just wanted to see how does it fit in with the other tools that are out there.
So the level of travel time reliability, again, is a measure that attempts to normalize congestion levels. What I believe that when, and I'm speaking on my own accord, I don't know this to be the case, but I believe that when the Federal Highway Administration established these targets, they were looking for a single measure that would not, that would attempt to take into account the fact that different districts, different municipalities and jurisdictions have a different baseline of congestion. And so level of travel time reliability attempts to smooth out the inconsistencies between traffic in an urban setting versus traffic in a rural setting. And we have a number of different performance measures that we look at locally, specifically pertaining to system performance. Those could be speed, delay, congestion. For our major projects investment area, we looked at number of people and jobs served. You probably know even better than I do the extent of the data that's available to us. This is just one measure that we look at and report to the feds. We have a number of others that are reported in our State of the System report, which is forthcoming in 2021, by the way.
Thank you very much. Just wanted to make sure put out there that if there's a problem that needs to be addressed, there are other ways that we do that in the industry, not just this one metric that we're looking at.
Okay, are there any other questions? Does anyone else have any other questions? Seeing none, is there a motion to accept the report? Who's that?
Second.
Motion by Councilman Maniscalco, second by Commissioner Kemp. Seeing no further discussion, please call the roll.
Miller?
Yes.
Kemp?
Yes.
Overman? Smith?
Yes.
Hagan?
Yes.
Maniscalco?
Yes.
Stroh?
Yes.
Dingfelder?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Lott?
Yes.
Williams? Yes.
Klug?
Yes.
Fry?
Yes.
Marino?
Yes.
Stewart?
Yes.
Motion carries 15-0.
Okay, thank you. Regional TSMOMU, Mr. Wong.
Back to me. All right, thank you. Once again, for the record, Johnny Wong, Hillsborough MPO staff. We'll give Beth a second to pull up the presentation slides. I'm here to brief you on an effort that we are coordinating with several other MPOs across Central Florida to develop a regional transportation systems management and operations memorandum of understanding. Now that I got that out of the way, I hope we can use TSMOMOU. And so TSMO, what is TSMO? TSMO is a management principle and a governance arrangement that allows traffic engineers to determine how technological enhancements can be used to improve the function of our transportation system. It's important here that I add a disclaimer because in the past, many people have believed that TSMO and other technological improvements are only useful for adding capacity to the network. And undoubtedly, yes, they can do that. That is the primary function of many of these. But the field of technology regarding transportation and mobility is moving so fast that there are a number of technologies that exist now that can do things like improve safety, improve security, resilience, and even encourage a higher modal split. And so it's not just about getting more cars on the roads and improving throughput. We can do things with technology that will allow us to save lives and get people out of a flood zone before they encounter a disaster. Next slide, please. Certainly, one of the most compelling arguments for using TSMO is to compare the cost of technological deployments to the cost of a capital project. And I want to really draw attention to an important nuance here. It's that given limited funding and given restrictions on right-of-way use, TSMO can be a very successful, very effective way of improving throughput and safety and resilience on a network. From the research that we presented to you leading up to the adoption of our long-range transportation plan, we studied and found that if we were to coordinate signal retimings, we could increase capacity by 4% on average on a given corridor. If we were to deploy ramp meters at the ramps on the interstate, we can increase throughput by 8% or more. And when you look at the costs of deploying these kind of technologies versus adding capacity by widening, TSMO is very effective and very cost effective compared to those types of projects. There's also a lot of promising developments in the field of TSMO. Some things like predictive analytics, like what I just mentioned in the previous presentation. Predictive analytics is going to allow us to make more informed planning decisions and better operational decisions. Vehicle automation is just now getting underway. There's certainly a lot more disruptors that we don't understand yet, but they're forthcoming. And the public knows that these developments are forthcoming. They may not understand exactly how all of this technology works, but they expect us to be using it to improve their commute. Next slide, please. And I know I may be preaching to the choir on this one, but there are many reasons why we should look to invest in TSMO. This region is very, very congested. We have one of the most congested corridors in the entire nation of I-4, and I-4 would be the perfect case study for deploying some of these new technologies to account for or to overcome problems related to bottlenecks and incidents and work zones and special events. I-4 is a corridor that connects two of the major metros across the state in Tampa and Orlando. And all of us, probably all of us who've ever traveled that corridor have never had an opportunity to go directly from Tampa to Orlando without some sort of a backup or some sort of a delay. And TSMO can help ease some of that congestion. Next slide, please. In District 7, we've been pretty fortunate to have some innovators in this space working for the district and working across the agencies within Hillsborough County. We've been able to work together to deploy a lot of very impactful operational strategies and technologies. Things like the low-hanging fruit, which might include encouraging active transportation, trying to get people out of cars and onto bikes or onto the sidewalk walking or transit to improve our mode split. We have things like special events management. The engineers in the traffic management center are able to time signals so that people are able to leave, I was going to say the Ice Palace, to leave special events and get home without sitting in a backup for a long period of time. And traffic signal coordination would also fall under to this category of low-hanging fruit. We're also working on more ambitious projects like integrated corridor management on I-4, something that a public commenter mentioned earlier this morning. We also have managed lanes in the works and coordinated exchange of work zone data. The same things that can be said about District 7 leading this effort can also be said of District 5 and District 1. And so the districts have taken a very strong lead. Next slide, please. The districts have taken a very strong lead, especially because this is an interstate that we're talking about. But we would like to give more opportunity for MPOs and local agencies to coordinate on how TSMO can be used along this corridor. Once again, I-4 is maybe the most perfect case study for deploying some of these technologies to see how we can improve throughput, make it safer, make it so that people are not experiencing incidents related to weather. It's been dubbed the most dangerous highway, and that's a problem because we know that we have technologies that can fix this. Next slide, please. What I'm presenting you today is a proposal to assemble a coalition of partner agencies across Central Florida. Not only the districts, this initiative is actually led by MPOs. And so we're talking about Hillsborough MPO working with Metroplan, Orlando's MPO, to organize this coalition so that we can coordinate tech deployments to solve mobility problems like congestion, safety, multimodality. We're working to identify champions on our board and other elected officials who understand the vision, understand or are interested in the technology and can help us advocate for projects and then help us deliver funding so that we can deploy some of these cool things that we know will have an impact. We really want to harmonize operations of TSMO across jurisdictions, because the thing with a lot of these technologies is that we know they work, but they require them to work across the extent of I-4 to get the maximum impact. Otherwise, we'll just be shortchanging ourselves and not capitalizing on the investment. This MOU that I'm presenting to you today for proposal is really formalizing work that is already being done. We, as the Hillsborough MPO, have taken the lead on developing a TSMO 101 course so that we can teach planners and engineers about these technologies. We're working with them on coordinating operations within the district already. And so we have been working together at various scales to improve TSMO and improve the network. Next slide, please. I know I'm running a little bit long. We had an initial coalition meeting about a month ago, or maybe 2 months ago, with many attendees, including our staff, Metroplan Orlando, district staff, cities, Hillsborough County was represented. A lot of these participants don't touch I-4, but they are impacted by the traffic entering and exiting the corridor. And so they're very concerned about parallel routes on the street network being impacted by our work. Next slide, please. They're hopeful that coordination will be able to solve a lot of the problems on I-4. This working group recently won a grant. So Metroplan Orlando staff they have secured a grant to help us undertake this work, organize the coalition, and identify grant opportunities, to draft the MOU, to create and maintain a membership list, and then report our discussions to decision makers so that TSMO can be coordinated. We presented a draft of the TSMO MOU to the policy committee last year. There were some questions about autonomy. And so in the new version of the MOU, we have made it very clear that local agencies, local operators will maintain sole autonomy over how their network and infrastructure is maintained. This is not an effort for Metroplan or any of the districts to seize control over our technology. It's really giving us an opportunity to coordinate how we do things with our partners. Next slide, please. This next slide is pretty detailed. It's just showing a step-by-step process for how we created the coalition, what will happen after we adopt the MOU, how we'll schedule meetings, and how we'll assess our effectiveness. Next slide, please. There are a number of potential deliverables for this, ranging from an assessment of how we're doing. We hope to organize peer exchanges. TSMO 101 course will be an educational opportunity for new planners and engineers to understand how these technologies work and how to apply them to the network in an appropriate way. We are going after grants. We have already secured a grant to do this work. The only action required of our MPO will be to establish some time to allow staff to work on this and to coordinate with other agencies. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. And the proposed action for the board this morning is to approve adoption of the regional TSMO MOU and allow us to dedicate some time to coordinate with the other agencies of the I-4 Corridor Coalition. And I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
I'll make a motion to approve if there aren't any questions. Maniscalco.
Commissioner Miller's signal appears to be weak again. Commissioner Miller, are you there?
Can you all hear me?
We can hear you now.
Okay. Are there any questions?
In the room. Can you let them know because they're not hearing me?
Commissioner Smith, you recognize?
Thank you. Just a quick question, Mr. Wong. You said something about managed lanes on I-4 being in the works. I know they haven't been ruled out, but are they in the works for the I-4 corridor? Are they being worked on? And what do you mean, toll lanes?
I apologize. I don't mean to alarm anyone. I left that in from a previous slide and I meant to take that out. My understanding of managed lanes on I-4 is that they're being considered and I don't know anything other than that. So I will have to defer to someone else. What I meant to explain is just that managed lanes are a tool being considered on the interstate. I didn't mean that they were specifically being considered for any of our interstate.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, there were two hands up in the county center.
And I have a question as well. This is Commissioner Miller. Commissioner Overman. Commissioner Miller's signal is also wavering again.
I don't know if I have to move on. Is Commissioner Miller, is he there? No? Okay, maybe I could just call on whoever in county center. Who has their hands raised? I don't have that.
Commissioner Kemp, can you hear me? This is Beth Alden.
Yes, I can hear you just fine.
Okay, wonderful. In the room here, we have Mr. Fry with his hand up, and I saw another hand over here. Was it Mr. Marino?
Okay, Mr. Fry, you're recognized.
Sure. Thank you. Mr. Wong, the question I have is, you mentioned DOT District 5, 1, and 7 in there. How how does DOT feel about this? And what is the bindability? Because I noticed that we're talking about DOT, but there's not a signatory for them. So how does that work between them on a state road?
I don't know exactly what their final role will be. I know that representatives from 7, 5, and 1 were on the initial call, and they did provide feedback to how we structure the language of the TSMO MOU. I'm assuming that we're not going to have this be a coalition that requires a commitment from all districts to participate. It's more open access, and I would view it as a forum to share and exchange ideas. Again, the discussions that the corridor coalition will have will be forwarded to decision makers. And if approved at that level, then it can be shared to decision makers across other jurisdictions. I want to stress that this is not a commitment to manage the interstate or any corridors in any particular way. It's really, again, like an exchange.
Is that memorialized in the document? I'm just curious if it's written into that way so that we know so if somebody just picks it up and reads it, they could tell what the bindability is, for lack of a
Right. It's memorialized insofar as it states that local agencies maintain sole autonomy over the operations of their infrastructure and network. And so it makes it pretty clear that only the local agencies have decision-making authority.
Okay. Mr. Marino, you recognized?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dr. Wong, I think the point that was that came from public comment, there is a reference to rail and high-speed rail. And so the question I had was, with this group in particular, and you mentioned, corridor management, you mentioned transit, would this body or would this, working group have any role to play in terms of maintaining the I-4 median as a location for rail, or whether it be high-speed rail or commuter rail? And would this body have any role to play in terms of facilitating, for example, a private rail company like Brightline, securing sites for future use of a multimodal center in Hillsborough County?
Definitely not play a role in the decision of maintaining right-of-way. This is a coalition formed by staff, and we don't make any decisions without the support of our board, and certainly don't make any decisions without the support of boards of jurisdictions along the entire I-4 corridor. The goal here is for us to be able to provide information to our board members. And so if you as a board member were to come to me and ask me what I think about maintaining right-of-way for a transit system and how technology would play a role in that, I could provide you information, but that's not a binding decision because I can't make that decision. I think that that's what you're getting at. Please correct me if I misunderstood the question.
No, that's good. Thank you.
Okay, and Commissioner Overman, you're recognized.
Thank you very much. Johnny, thank you. Mr. Wong, thank you very much for your presentation. I did have a lot of questions to how this is formulated, and I do understand that it's primarily the staff level of planning for improving outcomes. Two questions. One is the desire to work this and move it forward through Metroplan as a consequence of the fact that Metroplan was able to acquire the grant? And if so, what happens in the event that the grant is, expires? And given that Metroplan has it looks like, unilateral decision on how they staff this person or this position to coordinate this among all the groups, I'm curious in the way the language is actually written. I think it does. Is the grant driving the formulation of this MOU, or is it the parties involved in it that have decided and elected Metroplan to serve in this role because they got the grant? Could you help me with that, please?
Yeah, I don't think that the congregation of the coalition is dependent upon the grant. We have been doing this kind of coordination work for a long time without any funding to support it. The grant is allowing us to scale this up to include even more stakeholders and to have regular meetings and potentially create some deliverables. Metroplan Orlando is more or less taking the lead on it because they have a staff which includes a very well-respected expert TSMO planner named Eric Hill, and he was the one who brought forth this idea. We think that there's value in the idea of coordinating TSMO deployments, and that's really just how it began. And they were able to secure the grant because they're planning on doing this kind of coalition work. The state agreed that it's important. I don't know any more details about the grant other than that.
I appreciate that. Thank you. My question is.
Okay, can whoever mute their mic?
Mute mic.
I don't know who's speaking, but can they mute their mic? Thank you.
I think that fixed it. I think that fixed
okay.
it.
Yeah.
I just to follow up on his answer. So the agreement really has driven out of the group and Mr. Hill's involvement in this. If Mr. Hill is not involved in this, what is the sustainability of the effort? Because it appears as though it is driven by this one individual's being available to handle it and his expertise.
That's a scenario that I hadn't really considered yet. I think that we have sufficient expertise to keep it going without Eric leading it. Our MPO is actually considered to be a leader in TSMO planning as well. And Thea was invited to be a participant. Their expertise is well respected in the industry. And I'm not signing anyone up for that, but there is sufficient interest across multiple MPOs that I think any one of our agencies could step up and take the lead if our board supported that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I don't know again, somebody has their microphone on, please. Thank you. So seeing no further questions, do we have a motion to approve this? Is there a motion? Or do we have a motion, period?
Move to approve.
And who was that?
Dingfelder seconds.
Who made the motion?
Rick Lott.
Okay. Okay. We have a motion by Mayor Lott and a second by Councilman Dingfelder. Can we do a roll call, please?
Miller? Kemp?
Yes.
Overman?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Hagan? Citro?
Yes.
Dingfelder?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Lott?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Klug?
Yes.
Fry?
Yes.
Marino?
Yes.
Stewart?
Yes.
Motion carries 12-0.
All right, thank you all.
Okay, we'll move to the next item. This is MPO Executive Director Performance Evaluations being presented by Ms. Zornita of the Planning Commission.
Good morning, board members. Melissa Zornita, Executive Director of the Planning Commission. I am presenting this agenda item today because as part of the staff services agreement between the Planning Commission and the MPO, I would administer any performance-based merit increase that you all direct to be given to your executive director.
Can I just ask, you sound a little off mic. Is there a way that you can improve there may not be, your sound?
Let me see.
It just sounds a little unclear. It's all right, we can hear it, but.
Okay, I'll get a little closer and try to speak up.
Okay, thank you.
Sure thing. The MPO board administered your evaluation of Ms. Alden last April under the guidance of your attorney, Cameron Clark. And then at your May meeting, asked that the board supported the recommendation action of transmitting that evaluation to me, but asked that Chairman Miller meet with me and to consider the impact of the pandemic particularly on the Planning Commission budget. So I did meet with Commissioner Miller. We've met a couple of times now and have shared with him as well as with you all in the attached memo that Ms. Alden's salary is primarily and almost 100% paid by federal grants. So whatever your decision is on whether it's a merit increase or a bonus, would not impact the Planning Commission's operating budget. So at this point, there's some additional information in the memo. I won't read it to you all, but if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. And I am here simply to receive direction from you all on how you would like to proceed with either a merit increase, bonus, or other action based on her evaluation from earlier this year. Thank you.
Thank you. And just for a little clarification from what I thought I had clarified to me is that the rest of the staff received increases and Ms. Alden did not.
Yes, the rest of the staff for the performance review periods are just slightly different for Beth and myself from the rest of staff. But for the time period that overlaps the significant majority of the review period that you considered for Ms. Alden, the MPO and Planning Commission staff received merit increases ranging from 3% to 4.25% based on where they fell on in their review.
So I wasn't prepped for this meeting, but in terms of a motion on this, do we make a motion to approve a certain percentage, or what is the motion? What kind of motion are we looking for?
Yes, something like that would be very appropriate. A percentage increase, however you all want to handle it.
A percentage increase of what did everyone else get? Like 3.5%, did you say, or 4%, or based on the evaluation? Or can you give me some guidance here, please?
Absolutely.
Or give us some guidance, I should say.
Yes. I believe that based on Ms. Alden's performance scores were quite high from her evaluation. They ranged from a 4.2 to a 4.4 out of 5 on average. And that would have equated to a merit increase of 4% for the rest of staff. So if I was just to go and handle her the way we handled every other staff person, that is what would have occurred. But of course, it is at your discretion how you'd like to handle that.
Okay, Commissioner Miller, I see you're back. You can hear us?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I apologize, everyone.
Okay. We're discussing the merit, the increase for Ms. Alden. I'll make a motion to approve a 4% evaluation or 4% increase based on her evaluation and the increase that we've given to the other staff.
I'll second that.
There's a motion by Commissioner Overman. I'm sorry, by Commissioner Kim, second by Commissioner Overman. I don't see Commissioner Smith. You recognize?
Thank you. And because of the delay, because this was thrown back and been some delay, Ms. Zornita, would it be appropriate to make this retroactive back to the time that everyone else was getting their performance increases based on merit increases?
Certainly, if you direct that, that's something that we can do. It would probably make sense to make it retroactive to the May 13th board meeting when you gave the direction to proceed with the performance increase being transmitted to me.
So if the maker of the motion, if I need to make an amendment
Yes, you need to
to.
make an amendment. You need to make an amendment.
All right, I'll make an amendment. I'll make an amendment or propose an amendment to make this retroactive back to the May 13th period when we began the delay.
I'll second.
Yeah.
There's a second, there's a amendment by Commissioner Smith, second by Commissioner Overman to the original amendment. Is there any questions on the amendment?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, there is a hand raised there are two hands raised in the room.
Rick Lott.
Commissioner Mayor Lott, you recognize.
I support the 4%, but I want to ask our executive director a question. I know in the recommendation from the planning staff, they recommended instead of being a merit raise for it to be a one-time bonus. I'm fine either way. My question is, what would you prefer?
I don't have any preference in this matter.
You're good whether it was a one-time bonus or a merit raise. Okay, fair enough. Then I support the motion. Thank you.
Okay, was there another hand?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Dingfelder and then Citro, I guess, or vice versa.
Councilman Dingfelder, you recognize?
It's Williams also. Okay, I'll jump in. I'm reading the memo and I'm a little confused. And this is the October 14th memo from Melissa. This one's from you, I guess. So at the bottom under the asterisk, it says 3 to 4.25% merit increase. So that's I guess that's kind of in response to your question, Mr. Lott, Mayor Lott. And then at the very bottom, it speaks to an additional possible 2.5% one-time bonus that was provided to Ms. Zernita to ensure that the bonus was paid in 2020 fiscal year. So Melissa, can you clarify those two issues so we don't trip over ourselves on that?
Absolutely. Sure. So the rest of staff of our agency handled with performance increases in fiscal year FY20 that ranged from to 4.25%, depending on what their end of term ratings were. What the Planning Commission chose to do was they chose not to give me a performance increase that would go from year to year. They gave it to me as a bonus instead, because we knew that the personnel and operating budget for FY21 was going to be constrained. Again, my salary and bonus or merit increase would impact the Planning Commission's personnel and operating budget. The point that's made in the memo is that Ms. Albans does not, because it is paid significantly by the federal grants. So I think that clarifies it.
Let me clarify also that what Ms. Onita just said, that when I met with her, there's a very clear distinction that her salary comes from their budget, and it would have an impact on their budget. Again, Ms. Alden's salary comes from grants, so there's a major difference there. Okay, and in the discussion, also remember now we're on an amendment by Commissioner Smith. The states of the amendment, and that amendment is to have it retroactive back to May, whatever that date is, okay?
My last question, Mr. Chairman, is to you, since you were involved in these discussions as delegated by the board. Do you have any specific recommendations as related to the primary motion and the amendment?
My recommendation, again, in talking to Ms. Zornita was because Ms. Alden salary comes from grants. And if I remember right, Ms. Zornita, if that's from, I remember this right, I'm getting old, that we would go ahead and make a motion or have a raise depending on what the percentage was from this board because hers came from the grants itself. Did I do that right, Ms. Zornita?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right.
Mr.
Mr. Dingfelder?
Ms. Williams would like to speak as well.
Mr. Chairman.
Can I, Mr.
Go ahead. Thank you very much. My question is centered, similar to Mayor Lott's question in regards to the one-time bonus or merit increase. Are we using those words interchangeably, or do we intend to transfer the 4% at this point back to May 13 as a bonus, or is it considered a one-time merit increase for the remainder of the year into the next year? And then the second aspect of that is, what did everyone else get when they received their bonus, their percentage? Did they get a bonus or a merit increase?
Well, let me answer the first question, Ms. Williams. I think the motion was made by Commissioner Kemp and second by Commissioner Overman to give her a 4% increase. And there was an amendment by Commissioner Smith that was seconded by Commissioner Overman to make it retroactive back to May. That was an increase in pay, not a bonus, but an increase in pay. Now, the other part, I'll let Ms. Zornita answer that one.
Sure. The other staff received the performance increases.
That answer your question, Ms. Williams?
Merit increase?
Yes, it was a merit increase.
Very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the opportunity to clarify.
Councilman Citro, you recognize?
I had nothing to ask. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Are there any further questions? Seeing none, there's an amendment by Commissioner Smith, second by Commissioner Overman, to have the, if this passes, to have it retroactive back to May. See no further discussion on the amendment. Please call the roll on the amendment.
Miller,
Yes.
Kemp,
Yes.
Oberman,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Hagan, Pano,
Yes.
Maniscalco, Citro,
Yes.
Dingfelder,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Lott,
Yes.
A
Williams,
resounding yes.
Klug,
Yes.
Fry,
Yes.
Marino, Stewart.
Yes.
Motion carries 14-0.
Okay, we're now back on the amended motion. Is there any discussion on the amended motion? Seeing none, please call the roll on the motion.
Miller,
Yes.
Kemp,
Yes.
Overman,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Hagan, Lapano, Maniscalco,
Yes.
Dingfelder,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Lott,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Klug,
Yes.
Fry, Marino, Stewart.
Yes.
Motion carries 13-0.
Okay, thank you. Before we move on, I know that Mayor Lott and Ms. Williams have to leave at 11 o'clock, and then when they leave, we lose our in-person quorum, which means the meeting is over. We only have 10 minutes left. So, Ms. Alden, is there anything desperately needs to be taken care of in the status reports before we move on that needs to be taken care of today?
No, sir. The rest of the items are just here for discussion.
Okay, can they be carried over to another meeting?
The legislative platform is somewhat time sensitive. We are to bring a discussion to our Tri-County TMA Leadership Group meeting on the 20th of November about our position on transit funding and what our ask is of our legislative delegation. So if it would please you, I would appreciate the opportunity to talk about that with the board members.
Hold on. Is there any objection to moving the non-discrimination plan update and the MPO bylaws amendment for the TDCM meeting to the next meeting? Is there any objection to that? Any objection? But we're going to move those to the next meeting. So Ms. Ms. Alden, go ahead and bring up the review of last year's legislative position and suggested new ones. And remember, we only have 10 minutes left.
Yes, sir. So on our legislative positions, we have in particular one that I would like to talk with you about. I'm trying to pull it up now. Are you seeing the agenda? Yes, okay. And so we have a number of positions that we have taken over the last 2 years. Those letters are in your agenda packet. We would recommend continuing with most of those positions the way they are stated. So one change would be what I am sharing with you on the screen now, which is a draft position statement about transit funding. This came to our attention, and it is not up on the screen. It is now, I believe. So briefly, when there is an earmark in the state budget for a transportation project, really of any kind, but this has become critical in the transit arena, it does not bring new money to this area. What it means is that the dollars that our DOT District 7 receives from the state must be used for the project that is listed in the earmark. In previous years, our District 7 office has been able to cover these earmarks out of contingency funds. What we understand going forward is that those contingencies are mostly exhausted, and so that means that projects that have been priorities for some time and have been in the queue can get bumped when there are state budget earmarks. In your agenda packet, you see 2 examples of that. So in the fiscal 20 budget, there were 2 earmarks for T-BARTA, which resulted in funding reductions to HART and PSTA. One of those was some funding that would have helped HART with its maintenance facility, which, as you heard Johnny describe earlier, has a number of challenges related to it. The second one would have assisted PSTA with the 100X bus service that connects St. Petersburg and Tampa. So in communicating with our legislative delegation about the importance of transit, the primary point here is that we want to be clear that if they are asking for a budget earmark, they need to ask for new funding of some kind, not out of the Transportation Trust Fund. Frankly, in this budget year, this very challenged budget year, the speculation is it's going to be very difficult to get any kind of new funding for anything. And so it would be better if we did not ask for any earmarks at all. But this is where we are with our legislative delegation. I know our legislators are interested in advocating for transportation, and we want to be clear in our messaging. So the second page provides some options that they might want to consider if they want to champion transit projects. So one of those is about asking for greater flexibility in the use of the Strategic Intermodal System Fund and funds for the state highway system. Point 3 is that the state program that funds intercity rail, there's a suggestion there that that be broadened to be fixed guideway transit, which could make bus rapid transit eligible as a funding source. The last 2 points, 4 and 5, are about creating new funding for transit. So for example, a rental car surcharge. I don't know what the likelihood is of that being accepted, but it's an opportunity. And then the 5th is, at the very least, please do not place additional restrictions on local governments' abilities to reflect the wishes of their citizens if they would like to raise their own local revenues and invest in their local transportation system. Please do not place additional restrictions on the communities that choose to do that. We would like to bring these recommendations, as I mentioned, to the Tri-County group on the 20th of November, and so I would seek guidance from you all today.
Move approval that we forwarded on to the TMA. This is Commissioner.
There's a motion by Commissioner Overman. Is there a second? Is there a second? Is there a second?
Marino seconds.
A lack of a second.
Seconds.
I think we lost him.
Can you hear me?
Beth, can you hear anyone else in the room?
Mr. Marino seconds.
That was a second by Mr. Marino?
Correct.
Okay. Commissioner Kemp, you recognize.
Yes. I'm going to make a motion that we remove.
Well, we already have, we have a motion on the floor. You have to make an
I'm
amendment.
sorry, amendment. That we remove intercity between cities from number 3. It says change intercity rail to intercity fixed guideway transit and define fixed guideways being 50% in dedicated right of way. My objections to this, I explained at length in the Hart meeting because the same thing occurred there. What this does is look at the funding that is now being provided, 341 under the Florida statutes is being provided it provides for the funding for Sunrail and Tri-Rail. And I can tell you that when I was in Orlando and met with the Lynx and Sunrail staff, they were very critical because T-BARDA had sought to break open this funding in the past and take it away from Sunrail and Tri-Rail. And as you know, and as this board has looked at,
Quorum. You're going to lose your quorum,
well,
hurry up.
then maybe it will be lost. I don't know what to do except to explain my point here. So the problem here is that they were very objecting to the fact that we were taking money from rail that we could use as well for our CSX here. The problem is that by defining it as intercity between cities, this benefits every other county in Florida that we're looking at, but for Hillsborough County. Counties like Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach, Pinellas, whatever they are, Osceola, Orange, they all have many multiple cities, as we know in municipalities, as we know in Pinellas. There's something like 24 or 26. So they can easily fund intercity BRT. In fact, that's what their BRT that they have moving forward now is between St. Petersburg and St. Petersburg Beach. Intercity BRT, they can get this funding. There's absolutely no project that we have that can avail us of funding under this in Hillsborough County. And that was part of the discussion as well. There is no BRT that we have going from Tampa to Plant City or Tampa to Temple Terrace or between Temple Terrace and Plant City. It doesn't exist. The BRT that we have is looking at going between USF and downtown, the one on Florida Avenue. This would not provide us with any opportunity unless we change this language to between job centers. So that will be my motion to, or is there another term, Ms. Alden, between, I know that there was some discussion of this, between work centers, or what would be the language that would open it up so that Hillsborough County could get some benefit from this?
I think it would be simplest to simply delete the word intercity from the recommendation so that we would be asking to change intercity rail to simply fixed guideway transit.
Okay.
Second the amendment. Commissioner Smith.
Okay, we have an amendment by Commissioner Kemp, second by Commissioner Smith. Is there any further discussion on the amendment? And the building has a discussion on the amendment. None. Please call the roll on the amendment to the motion.
Miller,
Yes.
Kemp,
Yes.
Overman,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Hagan, Lapano, Maniscalco, Citro,
Yes.
Dingfelder,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Lott,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Klug,
Yes.
Fry,
Yes.
Marino,
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Motion carries 13-0.
We're now back on the amendment, the motion by Commissioner Overman, second by Commissioner, I don't know who seconded, I can't remember who seconded. Anyway, it's amended. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Miller,
Yes.
Kemp,
Yes.
Overman,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Hagan, Kano, Maskowko, Citro,
Yes.
Dingfelder,
Yes, and Mr. Chairman, you can include me as the second, just for the record.
Ross,
Yes.
Lott,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Klug,
Yes.
Fry, Marino, Stewart.
Yes.
Motion carries 13-0.
Okay, move to the executive director's report. Do we still have a quorum in the in-person building?
Losing it,
Sir,
losing it now.
Our members are leaving, so I will make my remarks brief. As I mentioned, we do have a regional meeting on the 20th of November. The list of regional top priority projects is in your agenda packet. There are really no significant changes from last year. You all have discussed it quite extensively. We were fortunate to receive, I believe, a month ago, that announcement about 2 build grants from the feds. One was for Tampa for multimodal improvements, and one is for the I-75 Big Bend Road interchange. So we really appreciate our federal representatives advocating for us on that and supporting those regional priorities. Those do come out of our regional advocacy as supported by this board. Finally, I wanted to mention that the Florida Transportation Plan policy element is going to be available for a 30-day review period, starting with a public meeting on November the 13th. So anyone will be able to view that. We will share that on all of our social media. So if you're interested in knowing what's going on next at the state level, you'll be able to get more information about that next week. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there any old business?
I'm sure on behalf of this,
Commissioner Kemp, you recognize. That's your hands up.
Ms. Stewart says this is her last meeting, so Mr. Chairman, we wish both of you.
Get to that. Hold on. Let me get to that. Is there any new business? Any new business?
Everybody leaving.
This is our last meeting for Ms. Stewart. Ms. Stewart, we want to thank you for your service to this board. We wish you the very best to your future endeavors as clerk of the circuit court and comptroller. Thank you very much. We know you're going to do a great job there. Mr. Marino, this is your last meeting. I understand. We want to thank you for your service to this board, and look forward to working with you in any other field of human endeavor that you may go into. And this is my last meeting. So if there's nothing else to come before us, anything else anyone wants to say before we adjourn?
Just thank you, Commissioner Miller, for leading us through some very difficult times.
I echo that. I have a lot of respect and learned a lot, and served for many years with Mr. Miller, and I can tell you I have nothing but the utmost respect, and he's a first-class gentleman and a great friend. And Mr. Chairman, thank you so much, and I know we'll work on other projects in the future together. And I can tell you this county loves you very much, as all of us do as well. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mayor Lott. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Being no further business to come before us for my very last time, we adjourn.
Thanks, everyone.